Let's talk higher end gear, the stuff that's going to stand out in the sea of general purpose rifles we have today. I'm rocking a cold hammer forged barrel from LBE Unlimited, a Jag Composites carbon fiber handguard, and Luth-AR's fully adjustable carbine stock in this week's Gear Grind. Let's start at the back this time and take a look at Luth-AR's MBA-3 adjustable carbine stock for your AR-15 or AR-10. Fit. Interestingly, this will fit mil-spec or commercial carbine buffer tubes. The MBA-3 will slide onto basically anything and features adjusters for a solid fit on your carbine tube. Quick note, there's a little notch in the adjustment lever you have here to line up with the stock to slide it over the tube. Otherwise, it won't be able to fully extend and slip over. As for what you can fit onto this, you can also mount a QD cup in the front, as well as a monopod in the back via the Picatinny rail. Both of those are sold separately, so just account for that in your upgrade budget and if that's what works for you. Feel. So this is a polymer stock with a ton of hardware in it, so you'll notice a little bit extra weight compared to some AR stocks. However, it does feel very well built. Nothing really rattles or feels loose at the top or bottom end of the adjustments you can make to cheek comb, length of pull, butt pad height, you name it. And like I mentioned, the set screw adjustment for the buffer tube gives this stock a really solid connection. No rattling at all. And you can basically make every adjustment via the included Allen wrench in the stock. Form. Now let's talk about all that exposed hardware. Yeah, the different button head screws and hex nuts are not super aesthetic, but this stock has a very utilitarian charm to it. The stock just straight up looks like it does a lot for you, looking at the cheek piece, the pick rails for the monopod, and that nice little curve up front for resting against your hand or a bag while shooting prone. I don't know if I'd call it a futuristic look, but it definitely looks purpose-driven. So, it looks like a functional stock, but does it behave like one, and how well does it do the job? From the perspective of being able to dial in the feel of your rifle exactly as you want it, I'd say so, absolutely. Now, I'll admit fully, I'm usually not a precision rifle guy, much less precision with an AR. If you want to dial in your cheek weld exactly where you need it, your length of pull tailored exactly to your comfort, the butt pad fit to your shoulder pocket perfectly, this stock does the job, absolutely. Features. I think the biggest benefit to this stock is that it's so broadly compatible with ARs out there, and it does its job very well. There are a lot of precision style stocks out there, but a lot of them that mount to carbine buffer tubes can feel pretty cheap and loose and don't really serve their purpose. For the MBA-3, all connections are secure with firm but simple adjustments, plus those little touches on the pick rail, the rear grip, all things that make shooting easier when you're going for accuracy. Now, because I apparently can't stop putting carbon fiber on my guns, let's take a look at the Jag Composites Big Bertha handguard, made especially for your Aero Precision enhanced uppers. You can also use the Aero Precision BAR barrel nut for this, but if we're talking ease of installation and the benefits of having your handguard's mounting surface be a continuous piece of forged 7075 T6, that's pretty cool. The Big Bertha comes with fasteners, these small mounting plates, and a bit of Loctite for a hassle-free install with no timing required. And that's not typical for carbon fiber. Feel. Feather light. We're talking over just 5 ounces on a 15-inch M-LOK handguard. To put that in perspective, Aero Precision's enhanced handguards for these uppers, which are a similar size and dimension, are over double the weight at 11.2 ounces. And if you've never handled a carbon fiber handguard before, the difference is immediately noticeable. Despite this handguard being a bit larger with its 1.8-inch internal diameter, it's very comfortable in the hand, and you can C-clamp over the gas block and tube without getting burned, thanks to this area up top being solid. Only drawback common with carbon fiber handguards, it's very smooth. If you want some extra grip, I'd recommend Magpul's rubberized M-LOK rail covers or go old school with some hockey tape. Form. There really is nothing quite like a carbon fiber handguard on an AR-15 in my humble opinion. I personally appreciate that the angled sides aren't just more rows of M-LOK, these actually have some speed holes with some angle to them, and they're a bit wider than the M-LOK slots alone. Aesthetically, I really like that touch and how clean this handguard is overall. A lot of carbon fiber handguards are friction mounted, which leaves a lot of material near the barrel nut kind of hanging out, but these are great for achieving a perfectly clean look on your rifle with a bit of subtle personality. If I'm nitpicking, there's a few areas where the cuts on the 45s aren't perfectly clean, but all the M-LOK is in spec, so no actual issues. Function. As you might expect, this handguard is a pleasure to work with and shoot. No issues with the fasteners backing out under recoil, M-lock slots were all in spec, and even when you start putting this thing through its paces, the carbon fiber takes way longer to heat up than aluminum. One pretty awesome feature, if you're into this sort of thing, is using that wide internal diameter to bury a suppressor underneath the handguard. Pretty much any 5.56 or 30 cal can will work for this, but you will be sacrificing your ability to mount accessories in that area, and the heat buildup is going to catch up to you. Biggest benefit for me is the ability to reduce weight at the front of the rifle and offset the cost of your accessories. And the lighter your kit, it will tend to be that you'll perform better physically for longer periods of time. The other factor is how this handguard is mounted and the properties of carbon fiber. Since you have a direct mount right into the receiver forging, using a material that's going to be less afflicted by heat and leverage from your accessories. In theory, that's way better than traditionally mounted aluminum handguards, especially if you have a laser that needs to stay zeroed. Now, what about what's under the handguard? I really wanted to get my hands on a more higher end barrel, so I have this from LBE Unlimited, 16-inch 5.56 cold hammer forged barrel. Great thing about AR-15 barrels is that they are pretty universal. This barrel will work with pretty much any AR-15 upper and handguard that you can throw at it. All of LBE Unlimited's cold hammer forged barrels also use a 750 diameter gas block, just depends on the model for which gas tube you'll need. The 16-inch, 14.5, and 13.9 up here all use mid-length, by the way. And yeah, 1/2x28 threads up front, making sure you can mount your favorite accessories, suppressors, what have you. Added bonus for installation, LBE dimples their barrels and laser engraves marks for gas block alignment. Good stuff. Feel. I've touched on barrels before, and I tend to like barrels that are lightweight or at least intelligently profiled. These barrels aren't the lightest around, but they do have a slightly lightened front end, which makes them far better balanced than your typical front-heavy government profile barrel. Once you get it all mounted up, there's no real issues with weight overall. It's very pointable. But there's also enough mass here to make a good suppressor host. This definitely is not a pencil profile, so if you want to mount a can, a little extra beef is going to be better for you. These cold hammer forged LBE barrels will cost you close to $300 no matter what you choose, and you're not really going to worry about how they look beyond the install. That being said, these have a really nice nitride finish inside and out. Unlike a lot of mil-spec style cold hammer forged barrels which use phosphate outside, hard chrome in the bore, this is one corrosion resistant finish, and all the machining is done professionally, no marks, nice and clean. Now the fun part. Cold hammer forged barrels are often put on a pedestal for being higher performance than button rifled barrels, which is how most AR barrels are made. But what does that actually afford you in terms of overall performance? Well, for one, let's talk accuracy. This barrel performed really well with just ball ammo, and some of the match grade loads we averaged close to an inch at 100 yards. And that's about as good as you can reasonably expect from any barrel. And because of the manufacturing process, the odds of that kind of performance being repeatable for the life of your rifle are very good. As far as the gas system goes, a slightly overgassed, compensated with an H1 buffer, seems to be working very well. When you're talking about a first impression short review format like this, I think it's hard to stress how much cold hammer forging does for your rifle over time. All ARs are subjected to massive fluctuations in heat, lots of friction, stress, which ends up causing things like throat erosion, degradation in your rifling, and decreased performance over time. But with cold hammer forging, which is a process that creates stronger molecular structure in the barrel steel, you're getting something that is going to endure for a longer period under higher volumes of fire. Whether that matters to you depends on how much you're planning to shoot this rifle, as well as how much you're willing to pay for a barrel.